Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into a fascinating development. Apple's App Tracking Transparency Framework, ATTF, is under scrutiny. Specifically, a German watchdog is questioning Apple's apparent exemption from its own strict rules. Intriguing, right?
Absolutely. So Apple boasts about its commitment to user privacy with ATTF, forcing other apps to get explicit consent before tracking user activity across apps. But the German Federal Cartel Office alleges Apple isn't playing by its own rules. Is that correct?
Precisely. The watchdog's preliminary findings suggest Apple's definition of tracking conveniently excludes its own practices. They claim Apple combines user data from the App Store, Apple ID, and connected devices for advertising purposes, without the same level of transparent consent required of third-party apps. It's a bit of a double standard, isn't it?
Yeah, a huge one. It seems like Apple is benefiting from the very data collection it restricts for others. This reminds me of the Meta situation. Remember how Meta lost billions because of ATTF? This is a potential antitrust issue, right?
Exactly. Meta's struggles highlight the impact of ATTF on companies heavily reliant on cross-app tracking. The German Cartel Office points out that Apple's vast ecosystem allows it to circumvent these restrictions, while smaller app developers lack the same data resources. It's a clear case of self-preferencing, potentially violating competition law.
I see. And it's not just the data collection. The consent process itself is apparently different. Apple's apps seem to have a much smoother, less intrusive consent process compared to third-party apps. This is a subtle but significant difference, isn't it?
Absolutely. The report suggests Apple's consent dialogues are designed to increase the likelihood of user consent compared to the ATTF dialogues for third-party apps. They even mention a difference in the number of prompts, up to 4 for third-party apps versus a maximum of 2 for Apple's own apps. This is a very clever, yet potentially problematic, strategy.
It's a bit sneaky, isn't it? It's like Apple is saying, we're all about privacy, but not for us. This whole situation raises serious questions about the fairness and transparency of Apple's practices. What's Apple's response to all this?
At the time of publication, Apple hadn't responded to requests for comment. But this silence speaks volumes, doesn't it? The German Cartel Office's investigation is ongoing, and the outcome could have significant implications for Apple's business model and its reputation. This is a major story to follow.
Indeed. This could set a precedent for how tech giants are held accountable for their data practices. It's a fascinating clash between a company's desire to protect its market position and the need for fair competition and user privacy. A very interesting development.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that even companies championing user privacy can face scrutiny when their actions don't align with their public image. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We'll keep you updated on this developing story. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.